Hey everybody, this is Dave Dugdale, learningdslrvideo.com. In that last video you got to watch me get a tutorial from James Drake of 5K Insight. And after the tutorial was over, he handed me the camera and he said, go ahead and shoot with it. And since I had a lot of questions about the rental market for, epics, which is a really niche market, I wanted to turn the camera on him and do an interview with him to find out more about the rental market. All right, before I start playing back the interview, let me tell you about the video technically. I recorded at 5K, then I downloaded the files to my computer, all the raw files, and then I opened the REDCINE-X program, which is a free program, and it's kind of like Lightroom. You can play with the raw files, like raw picture files, but it's raw video, which is amazing because you can adjust the white balance and you can change the ISO later, which I totally don't understand. You can change a whole bunch of different things and it's all raw. It's just meta information. It's not like you're baking it into the image at all. You can just change it however you like. It's just amazing, mind-blowing. So after that, I brought it into Premiere CS 5.5 and I could still work with the files natively there as well, which is really cool. I wanted to draw a little more attention to James in the picture, so what I did is I created a vignette and kind of darkened the left side of the screen a bit more. And then I noticed as I was scrubbing through, there was these light rays that were coming down from the high ceiling windows, and you could almost not even notice them. So I kind of figured people might think it's kind of like a washed out image a little bit, even though the light rays are kind of cool. So what I did is I added some more light rays. I made some in Photoshop and then brought them in, and then I moved them as the light rays were moving across the room during the 20 or 30 minutes we were running the interview. So real quick, this is what the raw files looked like on the camera before I did any correction to them, and this is what they look like after. Since I don't have any sort of 4K device in my home to watch this back at, I just, when I publish this, what you're watching is done in 1080. Also, to be fair, this type of shoot is really not where the epic shines, but I didn't really have much time to shoot around the Union Station building with more B-roll footage, so here comes the interview. So my first question to James is, who rents the Red Epic?
A lot of our clients are people that have shot a lot of projects. They've worked a lot with maybe the Red 1 or higher end cameras. And typically there's not a whole lot of education at the front end. A lot of our education happens in the back end with the post workflow and talking about the different options, finishing 2K, finishing 4K, 5K. So there's a myriad of options on the backside. But that being said, there is an ever-growing crowd of filmmakers that are interested in perhaps shooting at the next level, capturing in 5K in a master format. And we're more than happy to go the extra mile and inform and teach people about how to use the camera. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it, but it can also be pretty simple. So there's a pretty big market, I think, for the Epic camera. And you're not gonna probably shoot a birthday party with it, but you can certainly shoot indie films on it, and you can certainly shoot a lot of smaller projects, because those high-end cameras that 10, 15 years ago were out of reach suddenly are becoming more and more available for everyday filmmakers.
So do you recommend a time for somebody to test out the camera before they actually start shooting with it if they're kind of a novice like myself? You say 1 or 2 days rental before you actually shoot. So if you've got a 2-day shoot, you should really rent it for 4 days.
So let's say you're unfamiliar with the Red and you want to shoot a 2-day gig. Some lines of thinking say, well, you need to have X number of days of testing. And we would suggest that, in just a few hours, we can get you fairly comfortable with the Epic. Like anything else, practice makes perfect. And the more you shoot with it, the better you understand. But really, there's only a few subtleties that are different between, say, a DSLR and the Red. The Red has a lot of intangible, I would call them, benefits, meaning you have a super high resolution, you have the raw video that you can mess with in post, and but other than that, it just has a bunch of extra tools to really make you look awesome as a filmmaker. So it's a steep learning curve if you want to know everything, but in terms of just shooting, it's pretty straightforward. The Red offers a number of what I would call intangible benefits, especially on the post-production side. For one thing, you're shooting 5K, which is a master format. So at NAB this coming year, when all the 4K stuff hits the street, you're gonna be ready for it. your once-in-a-lifetime shots are going to be in a format that's suitable for the next generation of TVs, projectors, et cetera, et cetera. I mean, The Hobbit's shooting on the Epic, so if it's good enough for The Hobbit, I'd say it's probably good enough for the majority of us. The other options and benefits you get from it, you can do a punch-in. So you can go 400% into the image, pixel for pixel 1080, which means you can get a wide shot, medium shot, insert shot out of a single wide shot that you shoot on the Epic. And it's crisp and it looks really sharp, especially if you're going to something like the web. You have all kinds of options. You can do digital zooms. I mean, there's just a million things you can do with it. And then of course, one of the things that Red has been famous for is their raw codec, the Red code, which allows you to change your white balance, change your tint, change your ISO, all pretty much natively within REDCINE-X in your application. So instead of baking in your stuff on a DSLR, you have the option to create a million different looks in REDCINE-X, which is awesome because sometimes your footage needs to be molded in different ways. Maybe your DP has a very specific vision, but somehow it needs to shift a little towards something else in post. You know, if it's green cast in the movie, but all of a sudden you want a blue cast, you can do that non-destructively with the Epic and the Red code. So when you kind of shift from a DSLR to an Epic, you kind of have to think about some of the intangibles and how you can utilize those to your greatest advantage to really, take advantage of the system.
So what type of projects are shot on the Red Epic?
The typical clients using the Epic are generally commercial shoots, shorter form things, a lot of short films, and we're in discussions with a couple feature films. So, it's really, in terms of movie making, it is the go-to indie camera, in my opinion. It offers so many benefits, and the Epic, especially with the smaller form factor, just gives you a world of options, Not only that, films are expensive. Some films will spend $50,000 to $75,000 a day, and you want to capture in the best. You want to capture in something that's future-proof, in a sense. So the Epic offers that, and we're totally excited to work with anybody, of course, any shoot, but the majority of shoots are generally commercials and narrative films.
Which lenses can you rent with the Red Epic?
At 5K Insight, we have a couple packages. We have the camera package, which basically gets you most of everything you see in this video except for the lenses. The lenses package is separate, it's in addition to. And the reason for that is because a lot of productions have different needs. Some people need prime, some people need zoom, some people need old glass, some people need new stuff. So as a small company, we can't afford to buy 70 sets of lenses. We're not Keslow, unfortunately. And we like to be adaptable and we like to help people get what they really need. The great thing about the Epic is that it not only has a PL mount for all your Pro Cine glass, but it has an EF mount, which supports IS. It supports metadata. It supports autofocus. And you can slap that mount right on the camera. It's not like Elitist. You actually take the PL mount off and put a Canon lens or a Canon mount on, and then you can use your Canon glass at home. If you have a 24 to 70, slap it on there. 16 to 35, slap it on there. Any number of those Canon lenses go right on the camera, and a lot of them look really good.
So rent versus own. Should you rent an Epic or buy one?
Especially with the Scarlett release recently, the $10,000 body that everybody's been excited about, there may come a question, why wouldn't I just buy my Scarlett? Why wouldn't I just invest in this camera and then I've got it instead of renting from a company like us? Well, I would suggest that, things are moving pretty fast, as we all know, and there's a lot of opportunity to put your money into your film. If you have $20,000, spend it on art direction. Rent our camera for way cheaper, get your footage in the best possible resolution, and then hire your crew to do the things that are going to impact your film in a way that a lot of people aren't used to seeing. Everybody's used to seeing kind of the standard run and gun, cinema verite, in the real now footage. Not a lot of people are used to seeing a good deal of art direction. So just off the cuff, I would say that spending money on your film, not necessarily the camera, would be an excellent route to go. The other option is that, there's a lot of costs associated with owning a camera. Sure, you could write it off your taxes and you can use it and go out and shoot whenever you want, shoot your kid's birthday party, if you want. But the reality is, again, like things are moving pretty darn fast, and there's going to be a learning curve to it, and you're going to have to spend the time working with it and paying it off, when in reality, I mean, you could put the camera into your client's budget, so to speak, and then you never have to worry about, you know, does my viewfinder still work? Are my SSDs going to be good for 5 years? You don't have to worry about all that stuff because somebody like us is worrying about it. And then you go on your merry way, you shoot in this excellent resolution, you get the highest quality footage, and you still have your money left over to put it into other things. So, I mean, with the DSLR, you can go out and pick one up, you know, T2i, $800 or $700 or whatever they are now. That's a no-brainer. Absolutely. Buy one. Go shoot with it. With the Scarlett, or with the Epic especially, I mean, are you going to drop 40, 50,000 on a package? We don't suggest it.
What are some other benefits the Red Epic has?
I mean, we talked about like the intangible benefits of all the stuff you can do in post. There's also a lot of tangible benefits to the Epic. I mean, you're shooting on this huge resolution, which aliasing moire don't exist. I mean, you're capturing something in crisp quality. Do you see aliasing or moire in your raw photos? Almost never. Same thing with the Epic. So it's very crisp, very clean. You also have the option of finishing in 1080 or 2K with a huge format that's going to be good for years to come. But the thing that's really cool about going from 5K and scaling it down to 1080 is that you're getting an image that's absolutely crisp, and the computer is doing your work for you, so you're not making up information. You're not going to get artifacts. You're not going to get weird stuff that's going to change your image in any way. You're getting a crystal clear representation from 5K to 1080, which is really something that, you know, if you see a well-scaled 1080 image, sometimes you can tell like it's really crisp and you're like, that's gotta be a bigger sensor than pixel for pixel 1080. And a lot of the cameras are doing that. A lot of the current, you know, F3 and stuff like that, they have like a 3 or 4K sensor, or the C300 has a 4K sensor, but it records 1080. More or less, you're doing the same thing with the Epic, but you actually get the 5K. You get to keep the 5K. You're not throwing all that stuff out the window. So you can do more fun with it, we like to say, in the long term.
Any additional services that you guys offer?
One thing that differentiates our business, 5K Insight, from a lot of other rental companies is we're specified just on the Red cameras, Epic and Scarlett especially. And that means we can offer a lot of services that are specific to this camera. R3D dailies, you know, if you need ProRes or DNX HD or you need 1080 anything, we can get that to you in fast delivery, fast turnaround. We offer DIT services, so we can help you create lookup tables and create looks so that, you know, if your client wants to see something ASAP, we can get that done for you, both in camera and out of camera, you know, anywhere. And we offer, of course, CamOp AC services. So if you're unfamiliar with the camera, we can be there for you. And one thing we really like to advertise is work with 5K at the speed of 1080. You know, there's this perception that, well, it's 5K resolution, so it's gonna bog down my system. It's really gonna, you know, what am I gonna need, like a 12-core Mac with 64 gigs of RAM? It's amazing with the current technology what we can do. We have a 17-inch MacBook. You know, it's the latest one, so it's pretty quick. But we can work with our 5K resolution in Premiere CS5.5 online with adaptive resolution and make a cut from what we shot in practically real time. You know, it slows down an export a little bit. You know, it's not quite as fast on the exporting side, but in terms of cutting, it's just import the footage and you start editing immediately. I mean, there's no slowdown. It's pretty incredible. In addition, of course, you can do your dailies if you want to work in ProRes. Say you have a longer feature film or something like that. We generally wouldn't recommend shooting or working with it in RAW just because the file sizes get so big that you need a crazy system to handle that. You know, like several RAID drives just to pull the footage off the drives. So we would, of course, recommend going offline for that, using ProRes. But it's fast. I mean, with the Red Rocket card we have, the transcodes of the R3D files are as fast, if not sometimes faster, than going from H.264 to ProRes on your DSLR. So while the perception may be it's hard to work in 5K, it's not true. It's very easy, and we're here to help you do it.
Do I need to take insurance out on the camera?
Like any other rental business, we require production insurance, and you know, obviously it's a fairly expensive camera, and so it's, you know, we can be a little more lenient if we're out with the camera and things like that, but generally speaking, you want to have that production insurance, and really it's protection for you. You know, anybody can drop the camera, anybody can, you know, throw a lens across the room or whatever. So production insurance is a must. That's the one thing that some of the earlier filmmakers may not have jumped into yet.
So that's pretty much it. Pretty cool camera. It was a lot of fun playing with it. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance again unless I have a client that wants to shoot with one, and you can afford the rental price. So now I'm familiar with it. So, all right, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.